Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back. It is so good to see those of you who are here in church, and those of you who aren't back yet, we will see you soon, and we miss you. All right, boys and girls, we're still talking about obedience, and I told you last week we're going to talk about Jonah and the whale. So I want you guys to get ready. We're going to have a great lesson today. But before we do that, let's stand up. We're going to sing. We're going to sing 2 songs, and we'll come back together.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa. Whoa. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Sing it loud now. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Whoa, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. And the joy of the Lord is my strength, yeah. I've got the J-O-Y deep inside. I try to keep it in, but I can't hide the love that you have given me. I just want the world to see that you're the only one who makes me smile. I don't worry, 'cause I'm your child. Every day I look to you. You give me joy that's breaking through. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. And the joy of the Lord is my strength, yeah. I've got the J-O-Y deep inside. I try to keep it in, but I can't hide the love that you have given me. I just want the world to see that you're the only one who makes me smile. I don't worry, 'cause I'm your child. Every day I look to you. You give me joy that's breaking through. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. And the joy of the Lord is my strength, yeah. And the joy of the Lord is my strength, yeah. Come on, I've got the joy. 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 I've got the J-O-Y deep inside. I try to keep it in, but I can't hide the love that you have given me. I just want the world to see that you're the only one who makes me smile. I don't worry, 'cause I'm your child. Every day I look to you. You give me joy that's breaking through. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. And the joy of the Lord is my strength. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. And the joy of the Lord is my strength, yeah. And the joy of the Lord is my strength, yeah.
That was so good. I love worshiping. All right, boys and girls, we are talking about what I think is one of the craziest stories of the Bible. We're talking about obedience, and today we're going to talk about our friend Jonah. Now, I think you guys have heard this story before, but I really want you to think about it. Has there been a time where your parents asked you to do something and you didn't do it? Me too. My kids have done that too, right? Did you come up with some excuse why you didn't want to do it? Like, oh, I'm so tired. Or one of my favorites that my kids use is, I don't know how to do that. So we do a lesson and we teach them how to do it. Boys and girls, there's always things that we're asked to do that we don't want to do. And that happened to Jonah. God told him to go to a city and to preach to the people and tell them what's going to happen. And Jonah thought, nah, God must not really mean it. So what did he do? I want you to watch this video and see what Jonah did and see how that worked out for him. And then let's reflect on our own lives and what do we need to do better. Watch the video and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Heroes of the Bible, Jonah. This is Jonah. Jonah was a prophet. That means it was his job to tell people what God told him to say.
Yep.
One day, God told Jonah to go to Nineveh because the people of Nineveh were doing bad things. But instead, Jonah ran away.
Where are you, please?
And went to the port to board a ship. going the other way. He was hoping to get away from God.
Walmart.
He sailed for a place called Tarshish. While he was at sea, God sent a great and powerful wind over the sea that caused a storm that seemed like it would break the ship apart. Fearing for their lives, the sailors tried everything they could think of to save the ship. Meanwhile, Jonah was sound asleep, so the captain went down and said, "How can you sleep at a time like this? Get up and pray to your God. Maybe he will help us." Then the crew figured out that Jonah was the reason for the storm,
Uh-oh.
and they asked him, "Who are you? Why is this happening to us?" Jonah told them who he was and that he worshiped the one true God who made the sea. Then he told the sailors to throw him in the sea so the storm would stop.
No, why?
The sailors still tried to escape the storm, but it was no use. So they asked God for forgiveness and threw Jonah into the sea. The storm stopped at once.
Whoa!
The sailors were amazed at God's power and they vowed to serve him. Now God sent a great fish to swallow Jonah,
Great.
and Jonah was inside the fish for 3 days and nights. Jonah prayed to God from inside the fish, and God ordered the fish to spit Jonah out.
Ugh, yuck.
God told Jonah again to go to the city of Nineveh to tell them what God had said about them.
I get it.
This time, Jonah obeyed God and went to Nineveh to deliver God's message. The people of Nineveh stopped doing bad things and turned to God. They were saved because they listened to the message that God had given Jonah.
All right, boys and girls. Isn't that the funniest story? Let's go back to the beginning. So God told Jonah, I want you to go to Nineveh. I want you to tell them that my judgment's coming because they're not being very good, right? And Jonah thought, nah, I don't think God really means that. I don't really want to go. They might think I'm mean. So what does he do? He gets on a ship, doesn't he? And what happens when he's on the ship? A storm comes. Now think about this. Last time your mom asked you to empty the dishwasher or clean your room and you didn't do it, did all these things start to happen? Probably not. So we should be lucky and thankful that we're not Jonah, right? But think about this in your context of not doing what you're asked and what happened to Jonah. So he's on the ship and the storm's coming and the sailors knew, right? They're like, who on here did something? What is going on? And Jonah told them, throw me overboard. I mean, that's pretty brave. He knew he was wrong, right? And then, boys and girls, a giant fish came and swallowed him. Can you believe that? What if every time you didn't do what you were supposed to do, a fish came and swallowed you, and for 3 days you sat in the belly of a fish? I bet it would help us to follow directions a little better, wouldn't it? Boys and girls, Jonah didn't think God meant it, but God meant what he said, right? God gave him a command. Go to Nineveh, preach to the people, tell them my judgment's coming. Jonah says, nah, I'm gonna go on the ship and go the opposite direction. He gets thrown overboard, eaten by a giant fish, and do you think he learned his lesson? He did learn his lesson. Boys and girls, we can have excuses for not doing what we don't want to do, right? But it's really important that we're obedient. We need to be obedient to God. We talked about that last week, that God is number one, that he is the first thing and we worship nothing else before him. Boys and girls, and we also need to know that God's word and what God says is absolute truth. He means what he says. And so as we're spending time in prayer and we're talking to God, listen to what He's saying. And if God says, honor your mother and father, which is another one of our commandments, then that means you do what your mom and dad ask you to do. We have to be obedient to God, and we have to be obedient to our teachers and to all the other adults in our life who are there to help us. I don't want any of you getting eaten by a big fish, boys and girls. I'm just kidding. That's not really going to happen. But this is a good story just to remind us that we need to be obedient and to follow what God is asking us to do. Boys and girls, we have a really special craft for you. And then next weekend, we're going to talk more about obedience, but we're going to talk about one of the kings. We're going to talk about King Saul. We will see you next week. I love you all so much. Goodbye.